Hi there. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and we have a very, very lit show for you guys today. We have some great guests that we'll be bringing on later in the show today. Omari is going to be actually bringing some news to you guys straight from a cohort right here in the CHOP. And it'll be great because we've been talking about it for weeks and wanting to hear from leaders right here in the CHOP. So I'm so excited that you guys will get to hear from messengers right here that are leading the charge. As always, I gotta throw it over to my guy, Big O. Big O been on the scene, man, making it happen. How are you today?
Good morning. And I'll be honest with you, you know what I'm saying? My mornings are usually pretty good, but they turn into fantastic every time I see you on the set.
Well, right on.
I'm talking about you bring a whole lot of black girl magic up in here.
You know it. Thanks, man.
I was saying, these days I do it by myself. These guys will tell you, man, Jake, Bobby, we're running over to Cafe Vita and everything else. Man, I don't even need coffee when you're on the set.
It's
percolating over here, man.
There we go.
A lot of stuff, man. You know, a lot of stuff going on. Today's actually a pretty big news day, but I don't know. It might not even compare to yesterday. Yesterday was a very wild day here at the CHOP, man, where what happened is there's actually a Twitter account. There's so many Twitter accounts, right?
Oh
and I learned that like days ago, probably a week ago. I just replied to one of the accounts that was on there, and everybody was like, "Man, be careful. It might be this. It could be the North Koreans. It could be the Russians. It could be whatever." And so we stopped doing anything around the Twitter, around the CHOP, because there's so many different CHOP Twitter accounts that are out there. But there's a certain account that seems to got the eyes and ears of a local broadcaster here in Seattle, and they retweeted that account. And when I tell you all hell broke loose, it's crazy because it is a very big media operation. You know, Sinclair, they're in like 50 markets across America, if not more. So they retweeted the tweet that said that like the CHOP had ended. They had made a deal with Mayor Durkin, and they were supporting Joe Biden and Governor Inslee. And I mean, it was wild. And so then the next thing you know, man, my phone is just, because over the last 3 weeks, it's all these reporters around the world, and even locally, who are like, hey, they'll hit me up. Hey, what's it looking like right there? I mean, it's like, this is like, my phone went on fire. And it was like, yo, we just got this thing. It said that like the CHOP is over with this and that. I was like, well, I'm just a few feet from here.
Right.
Let me go interview some people. Let me go ask. So I just turned the phone on, and I mean, just let people know that this is the whole point of, especially you guys that like really support what we're doing here, and the guys that give us encouragement. That's what it's all about, is because irregardless, this is some of the biggest media networks in the world where we're reporting saying that it ended, it's over with, and it's unfortunate, because imagine if you're a Capitol Hill resident and you feel like, man, that you've been waiting for this to end, and now everybody's reporting that, oh, okay, it's done or whatever. And it really was disingenuous. I mean, it was crazy. And so all these cameras descend on here and everything. But what was mind-boggling for me is none of them talked to the people in the tents.
Right.
Like they was like literally broadcasting like 10, 15 feet from the East Precinct, and nobody talked to anybody in the tent. So I just did something anybody would do. I go to the tent. What's up? Are you leaving today? Did you get the memo? Do you follow Twitter? It's like, man, what? Ain't no memo. We ain't leaving. And so I'm just hitting all these things. So it turns out that yesterday, little old us, you know what I'm saying? This mom and pop operation was actually on the front line here to confirm that the protesters were still here. All these very, very big, huge media operations, man. They, they put out a different story, but because we're on the ground, because people support us here, we're able to be here, be able to pop on a live, and all I did was turn on the camera and let people see for themselves, you know what I'm saying? And I think that everybody learned a lesson, but also what happened yesterday is, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of been sleepy around here.
Yeah.
But when all that happened yesterday, it's like a whole new energy just popped up. You know what I'm saying? It was 2 marches, people were here, there was all kinds of committee meetings on the field and everything else. And so it's crazy how one bit of misinformation or people not confirmed. I used to write for the Garfield High School Messenger, And at the age 16, they tell you, man, you don't get 3 sources, confirm stuff and everything else. So, but one consequence, and depending on what side you are on this issue, whether you're sympathetic to these protesters or whether you're not, one thing for sure is that thing yesterday kicked a whole lot of energy back into the CHOP.
Man, I saw it actually as I was leaving in the afternoon yesterday. I was able to see that resurgence, and clearly, again, another shout out to independent media being able to take those, accusations, take certain things right to the streets, and actually have that connection. I think is what a lot of those major media outlets are missing. Again, even when they come down here and they're trying to figure out who to speak to. I mean, we were saying it the other day. We had Lorenzo's mom, Lorenzo's family down here, and there was all these cameras trying to figure out what happened with the shooting, and nobody was talking to the family. So again, being connected and understanding like the players down here is super important.
I think that the thing is too, which is kind of crazy, is that we're always hella open to all the media. You know what I'm saying? Whenever anybody calls me, they're from here. I mean, I'm never like, man, this is my info or whatever. I tell everybody what's going on. And some of the news yesterday that actually reported that the CHOP was disbanded and they made a deal with Durkin and everything. I talked to them beforehand because, they're like, hey, Omari, what's up? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, here's what I saw. Here's my observation. And what I told people yesterday, before they even reported on that, I said, you know what? Today's going to tell a lot. Guys have moved over here to the East Precinct. And to be honest with you, if they get people to move with them, if they grow the population at the East Precinct, this might go on for a while. Yeah. If they don't get people to move with them, then we'll see what happens here. And so I was very clear. I was like, man, today is going to be a day for wait and see. Yeah. But then they saw a tweet and just went with it, and the information was incorrect. So that was a really big thing that occurred yesterday. And also there was, I guess you would say, a General Assembly, community meeting, CHOP come together, whatever you want to call it. But that meeting, the last few days, it had been fairly small. Yeah. Yesterday, man, it was a big group of people out there on the field. And then, where the people have been doing the daily marches down to the West Precinct, yesterday now there was 2 marches to the West Precinct. So, it depends, some people are listening to me right now, they're like, yeah, and other people are like, oh, this CHOP thing is going to continue to go on. But either way, this is what happened, you know what I'm saying? Right. And it would be a lie to say that after yesterday that there isn't some kind of new energy over here. I mean, a lot of it because so much coverage came in. Actually, some people saw on TV, and then they saw the feed. They were saying that it's not shut down. And people started actually coming down here. There's actually more tents over there in front of the East Precinct now. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I mean, maybe that tweet, if they were trying to like, hey, let's just put it out there and like cut it off right now, whoever is manning that account, maybe that backfired on them. Oh, this is what it's looking like to me, because clearly maybe they were trying to make it seem like everything was dying down, and that riled people up. And again, I think that a lot of what we're seeing right now in this energy, in this zeitgeist, is people are not trying to let go of their people power. Again, I think they're taking their share back, and they're holding on to that accountability, and they don't want this movement and this momentum to really end without seeing some real wins for the community and for the protesters. I think that's what a lot of folks are really looking at now at this age. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not for me to say who wins or who loses, right? But what I can say is this. So these guys did an analysis on my Twitter account, and man, a lot of stuff that's coming in on a lot of the comments and everything, man, these are accounts that aren't in the U.S., that aren't in where people need to understand that, this is an international story, and there very well could be professionals or, other types of actors that are actively investing in sowing disinformation out here. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I mean, because we see where a lot of these tweets and some of this stuff is coming from, and, disinformation is rampant, is what I'll say. Now, whether it's the guy in his mom's basement, or whether it's somebody in Moscow, or whether it's whatever, whether it's somebody just sitting around the corner, there's so much active disinformation. Yeah, and I think also too, it actually points to how large this story has grown. I mean, clearly there's a lot of people that now have become inherent stake owners, stakeholders a bit in this, because now it's a political issue. It has driven into some other territories, and so now we're seeing other players kind of join in on this discussion. Yeah, and before we get to the guest here, I was having a conversation earlier when they were talking about, how does this end? Mm-hmm. And I don't know, man. This thing changes by the moment sometimes, But I can't say this is that right now there's like the police said that all they have is bullets and batons. You know what I'm saying? Some of the real entrenched protesters are like, man, we're gonna be here and everything else. But I would say that in a city as brilliant and as amazing as Seattle, you know what I'm saying, that dynamic people can be there to be able to find a resolution that doesn't necessarily involve batons or bullets or whatever it might be. I mean, we got a picture up there. You see all those bulletproof vests we got up there. We've got 6-7 bulletproof vests now. Goodness. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Which is up here. We don't go out without them. But I would encourage all stakeholders. You know what I'm saying? To think dynamically about the situation here.
Absolutely.
One thing that I talked to the city hall, some people at city hall yesterday, some people in the mayor's office, some people in the chief of police in the police office. What they're saying, because it goes along with misinformation and why I wanted to bring this up, what they are saying is like it's not their plan to send the Seattle police in here to sweep people out the street in the middle of the night. They said that they want to actually have a vibrant kind of dialogue to be able to work with people. I only bring that up because when we talked about yesterday, there's organizers that are out that we see out here in the middle of the night, and they're like, man, the police are around the corner, we got to go, and this and that, and I'm like, well, I don't really think that the police are sweeping in here, you know what I'm saying? And so, it's so many different sides on misinformation and what's real and everything. We talked about yesterday that an ignorant protester, it's not, ignorance isn't bliss. Right. If you're a protester, if you can stream this show, please stream some other stuff. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate you, but man, get your weight up. Learn what's going on out here. So, I mean,
be knowledgeable.
Right. And I'm just throwing out there that there is active discussions of like, man, how do people, taking violence and force off the table, how do people reach resolutions? And so one key part of that, though, is because we heard from Mayor Durkin, we've heard from Chief Best, we've heard from Fire Chief Scoggins, you know what I'm saying? And we've heard from Andre Taylor, different people like that. Who we haven't really heard from is a collective voice that's out here on the CHOP side. And I'm going to tell you, I've been working hard, man. You know what I'm saying? We've been beating the streets trying to talk to somebody so we can get on camera, because until we hear from them, it's only assumption. You know what I'm saying? And so what we have coming up here in the next segment is we have Naudia and we have Marcus, you know what I'm saying? They're coming out here, the Black Voices Collective.
Amazing. You know what? I mean, that's what I'm talking about. It seems like independent media is leading the charge here. Let me just say, because, I mean, it's not like they're going, they're not on ABC Studios. They're not at NBC Studios. They're not at King 5 or Como or any of that. They're here. And the thing is that I think that you're right. When you're talking about the different narratives that have brought themselves into this discussion and into this entire situation, I think it's going to be so imperative that we hear from this group and really understand how to support, because I think there's a lot of support out there, and I think that that's where I'm coming from. I'm excited to hear those demands straight from that collective.
Well, everybody knows that you sympathize with certain causes, so that's you. I'm not here to support it all. I always keep it, I mean, but it's tough on me and Triana's our relationship here as co-hosts, because this show, it was on air well before the CHOP and everything else. And, we had made a split, and she remained back on the community side of things. And I was like, man, you know what? I can't. I'm a journalist here and need to keep it down the middle. So definitely not here to support or unsupport, but I am here to give a platform. Yeah. And I think that these guys decided to come here, one, because we've consistently been on the ground, you know what I'm saying, and tried to be able to tell this story here as fair and possible, and this is the same place where the chief came. This is the same place Chief Scoggins came, where SDOT director Zimbabwe came, when Hari Mara came. So, you know what I'm saying, this is the platform right here. So
it's beautiful to be a part of it also too. And I think that in terms of the people that keep coming to CHOP to hear the message from this collective, I think is going to be super important in terms of how to move forward. I'm very excited for that.
Fantastic. We're going to take a short break right now, brought to you by the ACLT. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we have Naudia and Marcus. We're going to hear directly from them.
Right on.
You're watching the Morning Update Show.
I was at the grand opening of the Liberty Bank building, and I just saw so many folks there who had dreams and aspirations of something like that happening again in our community, where once that was the norm, we developed, we build, we created, and now to have to say we got to come back and do it again, this is just the first time, was inspiring to me. I think it also I think Africatown has created a model that others can follow, but I also think that you guys have created, just an energy around the community of folks that are now believing that we can, hold on to it. We're not done. It's not over. The game ain't over. And sometimes, when you look at that clock, I'm playing sports. You're down 21 points in the first quarter. You can either start working harder to get back in it, or you can shut it down and say it's over. Well, you guys have let us know that the game's not over. It's not over.
I'm a young black man doing all.
All right, well, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. We're in here. So this is, it's kind of a crazy moment for me because guys have been around and kind of talked and interviewed and things like that. But this is a different exciting time. Marcus, you've done a lot of different interviews, especially around the garden that's over there. Naudia, we were actually on a Zoom thing some guys in California put together, where they put together people in media and people who were part of protests and everything else, which was actually pretty cool. But, times have definitely changed here in the CHOP, especially from last weekend and to where it's at right now. You've had the city come out. The mayor has made a statement, and she's like, hey, man, things are they want to wind it down and everything else. We'll get into some of that. But before I put the cart in front of the horse, man, why don't you guys just take a second to introduce yourselves here to our audience and, tell them who you are and just, take a minute or two. Yeah, tell us who you are.
I'll start. I'm Marcus Henderson, Black Star farmer, as most of you know me. I've been around here since the beginning, decided to come down here with a shovel one day and start a garden to kind of show people how we can use land differently, public space, and raise issues above land equity and how racism has affected black farmers, especially in America.
And my name is Naudia, but everyone just calls me Naz. I am a Seattle native, a mother of two. I'm the co-director and founder of the Harriet Tubman Foundation for Safe Passage, and today here representing with Marcus the Black collective voice that has grown out of CHOP.
All right, so now the Black collective voice that has grown out of CHOP. I'll start with you, Naz. What's that all about? And I will also, real quick, before I have you answer that, one thing I will say is there's a lot of different groups. We know there's a lot of Twitters that just popped up out of nowhere, but there's a lot of different groups in acronyms and everything else. And people trust us to kind of filter and things like that before we actually give a platform. I can say for people who are viewing here, these are day one, or I guess we could say day zero people who have been out here. So just letting people know you guys didn't just show up and now you got some group and you're putting something out there. That all being said, tell us about the collective.
Yeah, absolutely. Day one for sure. Actually, my protesting started at Westlake Center and moved up, Pine after the looting took place and everything. And I remember walking up Pine to come to our car, and there was nothing going on over here. There were still barricades, but there were no people. And so the shift just the next day to where there's a standoff with the militarized police was fascinating. And my best friend and business manager brought me out here. She was feeling really passionate about, being there to assist people who may need help with tear gas and things of that nature. This is my first time protesting, really. I wasn't sure that, marching was still effective like it was when we were, or before our time, because I'm only 30 years old. But what I saw when I came out here was that there were very few people that looked like me. It didn't seem like there was many black folks out here. And I couldn't identify who the clear leadership was. I was familiar with some faces who were, standing out, leading marches and things of that nature. But I knew that, it was not one person or one group's choice that brought us all up here. It just seemed like it was the will of the people. And so for me, continuing to come back to this space and seeing how, music was now popping up and now resources were being provided, it was important to me to make this space feel comfortable for black folks, because this movement is for us and by us. But, in Seattle, where we are predominantly a white city, because our communities have been displaced so rapidly, I knew that it was a challenge, and that my first step of how I feel comfortable protesting, because I'm not a frontline person trying to chant at police, was to identify who was on the ground, and black people who were on the ground and that were taking the responsibility to, kind of hold down day-to-day operations here at, what is now known as the CHOP. And so that's where it kind of started for me. It was like, who do I need to know in order for us to come together and organize this so that this movement here on the Hill actually feels like it's for us and by us?
So, but one of the things that I saw, were you the guys with like the QR codes and surveys and things like that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my mom is Jessie. She's, well-known, highly decorated grassroots activist, and she will take any opportunity to stun on you with her accolades. But what she told me when she came up here, when she saw what was going on and how the story here on the CHOP was spreading across the globe, she was like, what's going on? What are you about to do? And came up here from LA. And what she told me is that we needed to hear what the people were actually saying. So we developed a survey through our foundation, and we began to, the days are blurry now, but I want to say it was like maybe 2 days after the standoff was over and the barricades came down, we brought the survey out, and we started surveying people on, what they thought about the protests, and also what they wanted to do, if they wanted to be involved, and how do they want to be involved in this. Because we wanted to make moves based on what the people have to say.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to come back about some of that, the data just in general that you gathered. But Marcus, now, what brought you in? We know that, I'm saying you got an affinity for the earth. Yeah. By the way, I'm actually a geologist. That was my first graduate school.
Brother.
Yeah, degree in geology and a minor in environmental science. I used to run an environmental research lab in North Carolina when I first graduated college. So, I'm an earth guy too. Yeah. So what made you say like, okay, let me come up here to CHOP? And also, because we reported it all along. This was the population for the standoff with the police is 90% white. Mm-hmm. The occupation 90+% white. And so now, what made you come up here and say like, man, let me, do my thing with the earth and grow some stuff and everything else?
Yeah, brother. I think a similar thing to Nas. Protesting wasn't an avenue that I thought was available for this movement, for the action that we needed. I eventually joined the protest because of the way that the police were treating protesters, and I realized that there were power in numbers. After the space kind of evolved into Chaz or Chop, or, I was here before it was either of those names, right. I felt the need to kind of bring some energy to the place, man, and create a space where people could where we can start to grow community, because that's what Garden's about, man. It's about growing the community, showing that we're developing, and that there's more to the movement than just fighting the police, right? We're here to kind of support the community and create an avenue for change, and that's why I came to the Garden. And then kind of how I connected with Nas was I was kind of in a little silo over there on the Garden, man. Like, the energy there is really busy. A lot of people bringing materials and resources. I was kind of stuck managing that for a bit, but also starting to get a lot of attention from the press. So being able to kind of fielding a lot of that attention from the press, started getting questions like, what do you think Chop's going to do? And I'm over on the Garden, like, I'm not really sure. There's so many leaders here. There's so many voices that want to get heard. So I started to kind of reach out and connect. And I went to a meeting with the Black Collective Voice and just recognized the group of individuals that were really trying to bring change, that were organized, that were having constructive conversations and being able to build in a direction. So I reached out to Nas and was like, hey, we need to get out there. We need to get our voice heard. And
Right.
That's where we went.
So I guess this is dispelling one rumor, is that the Black Collective Voice is all females.
No, it's not all females.
Okay. So, you're in the club. Real quick, want to touch on this. So you actually have research and data that you collected, you aggregated in real time from people who are here on the ground that took your survey. So you, the Harriet Tubman Foundation for Safe Passage.
Yes.
Let me get it right. The Harriet Tubman Foundation for Safe Passage.
You got it.
Actually might have the deepest insight as to what's going on here. So, I mean, just in that sense, I mean, if I was somebody, even as media, as a journalist, I would be interested to be able to see, like, man, what are people's thoughts and what they were thinking. But you also have insight if it comes down to some sort of negotiation with the city as well. You can, because that's everybody's question is, what do people want? You know what I'm saying? You go down to City Hall, you talk to the mayor, you talk to Chief Best, you talk to Chief Scoggins. Everybody's, what do people want? And you actually have real feedback from people as to their actual concerns and everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that was Miss Jessie's, background. She was like, you need to do this. This is how you have conversations with, governing bodies, with officials. You need to have data to prove whatever it is that you're trying to prove. And furthermore, at that time, there was, I appreciate you asking if it was all female-led, because at the time when we came down and held our event, our teach-in, which was highlighting Black women's voices, there was a lot of there's some power struggles going on between the Black men and the Black women who are out here giving their all to this space. Yeah, and so in an effort to kind of adjust that power, it wasn't like, well, I get the power because I say so. It's like, here's the evidence. This is what people are looking for. Not to say that people specifically asked for Black women leadership, but I can say that the overall consensus was that the responders were looking for Black leadership. Yeah,
but I mean, so this is the thing too. Is it's just like anything, man. People who are early movers on things. It's just kind of where you end up. I mean, we're early movers here on the CHOP coverage, and so I mean, it's hard to have a discussion with us, at least talking about media coverage, and not include us because we've really been here every day and everything else. What is so a few quick questions, because we're gonna get you guys out of here because you have the press conference. So the press conference starts at 12:20. You're making a statement at the press conference. Saying I didn't yank it out of here all there. Go and get my exclusive. We want to get our viewership up, but we wanted to actually, you guys are gonna make a statement. But a few things quickly. One, why today?
Divine timing. For me, this whole thing has been divine timing. Every single day here on the CHOP, first it was like, okay, a week can go by and it's like, we're trying to figure it out. And then it was every 24 hours, we don't know what we're getting into. And then it turned into most recently, like literally every hour, something is changing.
I agree.
And that's completely different for my life as someone who likes to control things. This has been crazy for me, but literally every hour something has transpired that has moved us in the next direction. I will also say that, Spirit and our ancestors are guiding us every step of the way. Pure heart, pure intentions here, and I felt that from Marcus as well, and from many people in this Black collective, if not all. And that is truly what I think set us up for where we're at today. Yeah.
So, but in your timing, because you said that what came out yesterday is you're giving a response to the mayor. So did it also have to do with waiting to see what the city was saying, or did the mayor's statement saying, hey, this is coming to an end, also prompt you guys to want to come out and make a statement now?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a prompt.
Okay.
Absolutely. And also, we were ready. Our website is up, all of our handles are out, and our collective was ready, and it just happened again to just time up with the day that the mayor decided to make a statement.
Right, and this the second question. I'll send it over to you. How important is it to the collective now that the international, national, local media is here? Is it important that you guys speak in terms of getting your narrative out there? I mean, for us in media, I can't predict this thing. It's like a crapshoot, but you know what I'm saying? Could go on, protracted. Guys might come to some understanding today. But either way, is it important for you guys while this thing is still going on that your actual narrative, the reason why you came here, your research and all that gets out to the public?
Yes, I think we're kind of in a stage now where there are multiple parties here in CHOP who are campaigning for a voice. And we're not asking to dilute any voices or push anyone down. We're just asking to be at the table so that we can start to engage in that conversation. And that's why we're here today, to engage everyone.
Right. And what can... I know that the statement is for the press release, but what can people expect, or what will people be able to take away from this statement that you guys are making at 12:20 today, or what do you want people to be able to take away from it?
That we truly are a collective of Black voices and allies, and we've been doing the work despite all odds to but for the people.
All right. Anything that's going to be earth-shattering? You said that you have your demands, you're meeting your demands. Not in detail, but I'm just saying, I mean, I guess we'll have to wait to hear what your reply is and everything else to Mayor Durkin and, your plan moving forward. I would just say this as a member of the media, but also somebody who's been through the roller coaster out here, who went from everything out here, getting ran up the boring hill to the pepper spray, the tear gas, the rubber bullets, and now the bulletproof vests and covering this and everything else. I'm just hopeful that whatever you guys are discussing or your statement at 12:20 is, something that moves this process forward. You know what I'm saying? That's what everybody's been waiting for. Everybody's kind of been waiting for a voice to emerge from over here, a credible voice. We talked about for a long time that, at least in my opinion, Chief Scoggins has been a credible messenger. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who carries a lot of weight, not a lot of baggage. You saw those guys walking the street every day. S-Dot, Haramami, I'm sorry, director. I always mix it up in my head. From Seattle Public Utilities, those are people who've been credible on the ground. And for weeks I've been like, man, where's the credible messenger that's going to come across from this side, from the protest side, that's going to be able to meet and have these kind of conversations. So I have high hopes. I'm not trying to put too much pressure on you guys. I'm just letting you know that I got high hopes that whatever it is that's in your statement and your plan for the future of what you're trying to do is something that's going to move this conversation forward. I'm tired, man.
Yeah.
Right there with
y'all need to figure this out. Big O needs some rest. Marcus, Naudia, thanks for joining us here. And what's going to happen for people viewing is at the end of the morning show, we're going to break that stream, and then we'll be back at 12:20 with their press conference and their statement that they're going to be reading. You are watching the Morning Update Show.
I was at the grand opening of the Liberty Bank building, and I just saw so many folks there who had dreams and aspirations of something like that happening again in our community, where once that was the norm, we developed, we build, we created, and now to have to say we got to come back and do it again, this is just the first time, was inspiring to me. I think it also I think Africatown has created a model that others can follow, but I also think that you guys have created, just an energy around the community of folks that are now believing that we can, hold on to it. We're not done. It's not over. The game ain't over. And sometimes, when you look at that clock, I'm playing sports. You're down 21 points in the first quarter. You can either start working harder to get back in it, or you can shut it down and say it's over. Well, you guys have let us know that the game's not over. It's not over.
Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury. We're continuing on here. You know what I'm saying? It's like today's the day we're hearing from the people, the people out here in the protest and everything else. And I've got Stokes who's out here, and I want to get this right here. You're saying that you're a community member interested in Black liberation.
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah, I wanted to read it here. Didn't want to go off the top of the head with that. So, I mean, we've been talking back and forth on text and on Twitter and sometimes out here in the street and everything else. And what I said was that, like, man, we like to let everybody be able to say what they have to say from differing points of views and everything else. And, you know, today was your day that we actually scheduled you in here. And so, man, tell us why you're out here and what you guys are, or the ideology that you're in, what it's all about, and why you've come out here.
Yeah, sure. Well, first I want to just give acknowledgement to like the times we're in. This is unprecedented times. I think we all can agree here, and we have a very incredible opportunity, an important opportunity, not to waste. We've never seen this kind of unity in a movement and a struggle that we are seeing right now across the country, not even across the country, but even internationally at this point. And yes, there's different politics, there's different, I guess, as you say, ideologies, value systems, and understandings that we all come with, but there's a few common things that we can all agree with. We're facing a serious problem, not just with police brutality, but the desecration of Black lives. And you can actually extend that and say it's happening to many other people. So I'm out here like many other people to not only voice not only our concern, but to put into action our protest against it, and then our vision of something different, something better that actually aligns with what we know we deserve. Right.
So what's the outcome that you want to see here at the CHOP?
Well, I mean, CHOP is just like, it's a tactic. CHOP is, the movement is much longer than CHOP, yo. The movement's been around for longer than any of us have been alive. Ideally, it'll live past. I want to see the abolishment. The police system needs to be abolished as we know it. The prison industrial complex needs to be abolished. These same things are are built off the same foundations of slavery. At one time they said slavery was impossible to abolish or inconceivable. I want to see lives be prioritized, Black lives be prioritized. Only way I see that happening is when we abolish the systems that are taking and desecrating Black lives.
Right. And now when you're saying like, okay, you want abolishment of the police system as we know it, what kind of system would you like to see take the place of the police system as we know it?
It doesn't have to. It could be, well, first of all, you should know I work, my main job is to work in alternatives to policing. Community has time and time again proven more effective at keeping themselves safe than police. Police, if anything, show up after incidents happen. They generally, or many times, they inflict more of a harm to the community or to the incident. And furthermore, if you actually look up all the call reports to the police, the majority of them are not violent. So police aren't even out here. I think maybe 4% of the actual calls to emergency are violent ones, and only 1% are seriously violent. And some of those are actually violence created by the police that other police are responding to. So when you say what system, I think anything can be better than what we have right now. But I think what it really look like is having stronger communities, stronger connections, resources to not only help with mental health, but help with like everything that puts people in a survival mentality or in a place that they are desperate for to act in less than ideal ways.
Right. Now, Seattle Police Chief Carmen Best, 2 days ago on the SPD blotter, she said that she wants to re-envision and reimagine policing in Seattle. And quite a few things that you've mentioned right there are some of the things, she's just bullet pointed, but some of the things she talked about was putting, community members inside of the command staff at police stations, and then, realigning to where 911 is really for emergency calling and taking a lot of the non-emergency things things or things that could be handled by community, by social workers, or by mediators, taking that responsibility off the police, and where the police are literally emergency responders. And also, she said that what she wants to do is the police should be focused on humanization as opposed to criminalization. Now, I know I've just rambled off a few points right there, but do you think that there's space in between a police system that you see and this policing, this envisioning and reimagination of policing, the Chief Best and other chiefs across the country are, they have something kind of similar to that? I think most police say that the system needs to change. They might not necessarily have all the pieces of what needs to change, but I think most do. But are you in the movement that you're with? Are you guys like, okay, are you willing to work with police? Are you willing to work with city to create, to remix the current structure? Or is it like, man, we just need to abolish everything and start from new?
Okay, I mean, you hit a lot of points there, so I'm going to do my best to try and catch what you said. First off, it sounds like co-optation to me. I've been doing this work for a long time. Everything that any of these police chiefs are saying is stuff that we've been saying a lot longer. This is just their opportunity to try and insert themselves in the conversation. I want to actually redirect the power that is within the hands of the people. The police did just leave this precinct. The people were able to create alternatives right here in real time where we're at when we talk about CHOP. So when we talk about the rhetoric coming out, it's like, why are we giving so much attention to what these were the original creators of all those ideas. So I think for any way forward, it's got to stay in the hands of the community. It's got to stay in the hands of the people that are suffering on the backs of these police, the police that are killing us, the state that continues to take lives I mean, like, yeah, to put our safety in jeopardy. So when you ask those questions, I'm gonna just put a word out there: overseer. What does that mean to you when you hear that word, overseer? And where does that what does that bring up in mind, even historically?
As a black man in America, I hear that term as the person who used to oversee the slaves on the plantation.
Okay, and today we still have an overseer, and to me that's the police. So no, I do not want my overseer to dictate to me my way forward. I'm for black liberation. That means I'm for black lives. I don't need an overseer to tell me how to live or what's best for the community.
So one last thing here.
We don't need overseers.
One last thing here. You said that you're pro-black liberation. Are you anti-anybody?
I'm for life. I think any person who's serious about this work, they move out of love. We're not doing this out of anger or hate. I mean, okay, so I will say there's a misconception that's going out here, and people need to maybe knowledge up or skill up or educate themselves. They come for this term Antifa or whatever. But our question, do we know what that word means? Because it means anti-fascist. So if you were against the Nazis of Germany, you are technically an anti-fascist. So when we talk about I stand against fascism, sure. I don't necessarily take on all those terms and connotations, but I really want to ideally educate all of yourselves on what people are actually standing for. I stand for my family. I grew up with the black family. I live among black people. I am a black person. I stand for the love of my people and the love for humanity and a better way forward, and that's why I do this work.
All right, so Stokes, appreciate you joining us, and I'm glad that we finally got you into the studio. You know what I'm saying? And so for people who don't know, I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people out here, a lot of them off camera, and I want to be able to give as many viewpoints because I think the viewers at home, whether they agree with you, I tell people all the time, people don't have to agree, but they should try to understand. You know what I'm saying? And so that's kind of where we're at. We're going to wrap out of here early today because we're going to be setting up for the press conference that's starting at 12:20. We're breaking this stream. We'll have a new stream that's starting at 12:20. And real quick, so when's the forum, Trina?
Tonight at 6 o'clock.
Oh, so it's tonight at 6 o'clock where? Oh, okay. So, and where should they go? To Oh, okay. So they're telling me that the Africatown is hosting a 37th District Democrat candidate forum at 6 o'clock, and you could go to the Africatown Central District Facebook page. It's on Zoom, so you could go, sit at home and be chilling and check it out. We're usually going to the community center for it. Hey, like I said, we're going to get out of here right now. Thank you, Stokes, for joining us. We're still standing. This is the Morning Update Show.
Every voice and sing, dealer than heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day.